he gets scared, in the major subdivision package. And in the package, it has everything you need to follow through with the documents that we have now. The only difference is you don't have we're using the old road waiver right now because we don't have an approved new road.
That, this has been given to the board of selectmen for them to look at.
So when they fix it, you can fix it.
I think my only comment was we were going to include the fee schedule in this package.
Correct. And that was, I looked through all of my stuff. Does anyone have the fee schedule that we voted on? It was, I thought it was in the folder. It wasn't in there. Who's got it? All right, awesome.
I just changed what I had. So I know that they're correct.
Minor subdivision application fee, major subdivision application fee per lot fee. Okay, perfect. Annexation, voluntary merger, driveway permit, certificate of compliance, and zoning application fee for variance. Okay.
Do you want me to make
That's
copies
75.
to put into the packet?
Yes. Yes. And then we can put.
That has to be changed.
Is this not, this isn't the new one?
No.
This is the one that's on the website.
Correct. It's the old one that has the old
Yep.
liability waiver, and we need a complete brand new building
Oh,
permit.
this is all we have right now.
This one hasn't been approved yet.
So we don't, the new
Waiver.
waiver, road agreement and waiver will be separate
From
from
this.
the building
Yep.
permit, so a new building permit will be necessary.
Okay, so where is commercial development packet? Who has the commercial development? Right here. Let me see that. So on the back of this, I created, because we don't have it, I created a commercial building permit. Commercial building permit. You want me to do the same thing for residential?
You want a site plan, you want to know.
That's all in there. We just need a new building permit. So you want to get rid of that, and you want to go to something like that.
We have to.
Okay, because I like this format better,
Absolutely.
right? All right, so I'm gonna edit those. I'm gonna get. Can you stick that back in my? These are my originals, so I need these back. Oh, yep. The packet's back, and what I'll do is I'll finalize these, and I will send them off to you guys before the next meeting, so that you can just review them. Because I want to approve all of this in December.
And what are we calling these packets for?
Application packets.
These are application packs. So this is just gonna be easier for Paul. So if somebody comes in, he just hands them this.
It's gonna be easier for the applicants too,
It'll
because
be
they're gonna
easier
know
for the
their
applicants.
expectations.
And then I'll do a new fee schedule, I'll attach that and all of that, so I can take care of that. All right, what time is it? 7 o'clock, call order. You wanna do the pledge, or you wanna skip the pledge? It's a working meeting.
It's working there.
Let's do the pledge, do that, roll call, we're all here. Except for
Our
John.
job
All right. We just talked about the policies and procedure edits, so just take a look.
is policies and procedures. Under meetings, hang on, I gotta find it. Meetings. Should we put in a paragraph for working meetings? So I don't email you and have a hissy fit and then have to apologize mumbling around foot in my mouth.
Come here. Let me see that.
So I got a hold of an old agenda that had Clayton Platt on it. And I didn't look at it, I was just pulling it up to see what we were looking at tonight, what we were gonna do. And I looked at the agenda and I didn't look at the date, you know, I was just rushing around doing things. And I'm like, what the heck? Why is Clayton Platt coming to a working meeting? This is a working meeting where we're supposed to be working on our stuff, our business. So I shot a quick email off to Jim and I said, Jim, why? First, you know, thank you to Paul for doing this and that and the other thing, putting the stuff on the website, doing this and this. Secondly, why is Clayton Platt including on a working meeting agenda? What the heck is going on here? And, you know, it was supposed to be a working meeting for our business. I said, here I am. I said, now picture me gnashing my teeth, flailing my arms, rolling my eyes. You know, just no. So if we change the numerology,
But special meeting covers that. Because a special meeting is anything outside of that.
it's a special meeting.
Because in some cases,
Mhm.
if there's a final plan or a plan that needs to be reviewed or buried with plans, and we want to do it on a secondary meeting,
Like we did last week for Clayton.
we can just do that as a, it
As a
just
special
classify as a special meeting. So this is a special meeting, it's a workshop.
But if we state working meetings, then we can call out what a working meeting is and state that the working meeting is
Is a
just
non-business
simply
meeting.
a non-business
I
meeting.
can have that.
So it's just to finalize and really
So, under the
codify.
meetings section,
Yes,
add workshops.
yes.
All right.
Not to be picky about it.
And then, well, I think it's good, it's probably good. So if anybody else sees anything on one section, let me know. But other than that, I'm gonna have that finalized and printed for the meeting on. I'll send that out to everybody. All right, so that takes care of number 6.
No, number 7. Yeah, number 6,
Number
sorry.
six.
Sorry.
And then, so where are we, let's discuss and formulate the meeting, the tri-board meeting agenda. So let's talk about that first. So first off,
December 18th at 6:30 PM.
okay, so is everybody's good with that? Because that's our regular
Zoning board and
select board.
select board.
They know it's the 18th, not the 19th.
Correct. It was a typo on my part.
December 18th, 6:30.
Well,
Yes. It's a Wednesday.
It's a Wednesday, so that would be our normal second meeting.
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, so we have that formulated. So now, we are the planning board. We run the meeting, we host the meeting, we invite the attendees. So, what do we want to discuss for topics?
I thought the primary topic was going to be concerns over development coming in, right?
Yeah, so we're not going to bring NHMA into this one. We're going to make the suggestion at this one about rules and procedures and everything else. So let's actually talk about board. First thing I'm just going to put down is board responsibilities, which really ties to everything that we do. I mean, if we're working on, we need all the boards to be on the same page with that. And then,
well, let's stop there. I know the zoning board, sorry, I forgot his name, but he had produced, their plans and procedures. They did adopt those, correct?
Yes.
yes, Bruce Jasper.
Yeah, Bruce did. Now, and they agree with what we're doing. Has anybody put the two together to make sure?
So they have their own policies and procedures which follow the RSAs and
Okay.
yeah.
Because
So-
they're judicial.
Yeah, they're judiciary, and Bruce was a lawyer, so he did a very good job on that. And he also initiated the one change that was in the zoning ordinance, which had them come to the select board and the planning board to get their members. Now they just bring a member that would be interested to the select board and become appointed.
So that there's no conflict. We don't.
No, there's no conflict.
So were we going to suggest to the other two boards that we bring in NHMA to do some training? Was that what we were going to do?
I have, from NHMA, a list of their on-demand trainings and the costs, and I will send that out.
Does that mean it's like an online thing?
Nope, they come here.
Okay, so on demand means like person.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
On-demand means they come to.
You have much more retention and much more success if it's an in-house.
I agree.
That's the best way to do it, because it's tough to get people to go to Lebanon or to go wherever the heck they are.
I just hear on demand, I think of like you're
Yeah.
you know, like
Yeah, they call it on-demand, and they will come to you. They have a series of roles and responsibilities of the select board, roles and responsibilities of this, right to know.
So are we gonna like present any of that information, or are we just gonna sit? Okay, so we'll give like the Cliff Notes version and say we suggest.
Yeah, what we're gonna do, we're gonna pencil down all the things that we wanna have on the agenda, and then I'm gonna figure out the flow of that, and what the order that we pick here isn't gonna be the order that ends up, because we're gonna have a certain flow. We wanna talk about educating people about their roles and responsibilities. It's probably not the best thing to do that first. I would save that for the end.
But I recall a couple of years ago, I went online and there was a whole series of lectures, if you will, on responsibility. Now, was that NHMA or that was some other guy?
There's NHMA, there's the Office of Planning, the BEA.
Secretary of
so
State
the
does the same
Secretary of
thing.
State, there's so the land use boards just had their land use lectures last weekend. I attended. So, but you can download the books too. There's the handbook for the zoning board, the handbook for the planning board. The only thing that there's no handbook for is the select board. I attended the Academy for Good Governance on these last 6-7 Wednesdays and put all the classes together and sent it out so all the rest of the select board members could go to those classes and attend them.
So I would suggest that we have the meeting, we have a time limit on the meeting. Usually 90 minutes is good before people's eyes gloss over. And what I think we do is when we're formulating the agenda, we formulate the time on each subject with a hard stop at the end. Because that's the way I'm gonna run this, because you got all these cats in the room and they're gonna get chatty. And you're gonna keep them on focus and on point. But you don't want one issue to spiral into a complete discussion of something going on with somebody else and somebody's mad at somebody or, I've seen enough of that on this one.
We're going to have some of those.
So we'll have some
issues.
structure.
Yes.
For sure. Because there'll be some sensitivity on some of the subjects, I would think.
Absolutely.
So we need to, I'll be sensitive to that, but I'm gonna move this meeting so that we cover what we want to cover. So the second item, and these are no particular order, just as they're popping into my noodle, is a conservation committee. Right?
Yeah, conservation committee, a historical society, or historical, not the society, but a historical district. And there actually might be 3 of them. It could be the village, the flat, 4 corners. And it might be people from the society or some of the older folks in town that might want to get together and give us some guidance on areas that should be looked at to see if we want to do historical preservation.
So
So
these
this,
would be subgroups of conservation, what we would consider to be conservation.
Historical stands on its own.
Okay, so that'll be third.
Yeah.
the conservation committee is with respect to like conserving land.
Yeah, so the first item in the conservation committee would be land purchasing. Okay, so there has to be a desire to purchase it. Otherwise, you don't need a conservation committee. The second thing is zoning. Because zoning is conservation is zoning. So if you wanted to add a historical district, a village district, and a flats district, you could add a farm district, right? You could come up with spot, and not spot zoning, because you can't do spot zoning. But you can come up with districts and zones.
An overlay historical district
Right.
for each one of them.
Which allows you to expand on what the minimum lot sizes are. So let's take Fred Brown's land as an example. That would be that zone up in there, all of Croydon Turnpike and Loveland Hill, that could all be considered farm zone. Which means that we wouldn't allow any more 3 acre zoning up there, we want 10 acre zoning. So that means that Fred's 100 acres would get 10 homes instead of right now where it could get 30.
Fred has 40 acres.
So he had 198.
No, it's 40.
Who has the other?
Winter has 151.
Okay, that's the one that's got confusing. Okay. That abuts his.
Yes.
Okay. So there's 200 acres up there.
Yeah.
So if you classify that as a farm zone, you could say, okay, that's going to be 10 acre lots minimum. And now you've taken 200 acres down to 20 homes instead of 50.
This is assuming that the town says in the survey that they want 2 different lot sizes based on land use.
I don't think it matters what's in the survey unless people said we want all the development in the world. I think what you're going to find is people are going to say we want to keep Croydon small.
seems
It's
to be
already
the case.
Facebook posts on it saying the same thing. People complaining about Croydon Turnpike. So,
But some people might not want the complication
Okay,
like
back to your point about spot zoning itself, okay, so you say Fred Brown's property, then you've got D. Simone down at the bottom of the Woodlands, and they've got 130 acres down there that they claim they're never gonna develop. So can you add that to your?
So-
look at the zone.
But then you get Gary Quimby, he's already
Right,
subdivided
but
all
if you
this
had a
stuff.
conservation commission, one of the things the conservation commission could do is the select board could ask the townspeople for all the land use change tax money and all of the timber tax money to be put in a fund. And the fund would be to purchase land or to go to the citizens, such as D. Simone or whomever, and ask them if they would be willing to put their land in a conservation easement. So they could keep the land, but we would buy the development rights. The land would stay with the family, but the development rights would be the town's. The town would hold on to it, or the preservation rights would go up to Upper Valley Land Trust, and there would never be any development on that land.
Meaning if they ever wanted to develop.
The number in terms of what they're giving up in terms of money is significant, right?
Right, but you can get grants to help you with
Yeah,
this.
so, yeah, you can get grants, but I mean, we'll look at Fred Brown's land as an example, so, or just, actually, let's just look at Lovern Hill, because we have data on it. So, the 60 some odd acres were sold up there, 2 lots.
62
acres for $450,000.
$450,000.
Okay, so the town could have said, hey, it's listed for $485. The town could have, if they had a conservation committee, they could have the conservation committeemen reach out and say, we'd like to put an offer in on this land. And we could have offered $450. And then what happens is, if it's 2 or 3 months before March, you wait till March. If it's April and this land comes on the market and the people want to move, then you actually hold a special meeting. And you have a special town meeting and people come in and vote on the purchase of the land, up or down. And then if the town passes it, with the tax impacts and everything laid out, the town moves forward, bonds it, and purchases the land.
Is there any way for the, to have the town authorize, that committee or whoever is in charge of this to do it without a special meeting? Because those special meetings take up a lot of people, you have to.
If
hire
they have
people
a
and all
fund,
money.
if they have their own fund, if those.
If they have the money in the fund,
Yes, they can do it.
they can do it. If they don't have the money in the fund, they can't do it.
Then it would be a special meeting.
Because it's gonna
Right,
impact.
so you could just put a fund together that's meant for purchasing land, and then the select board or whatever can spend from it if they have a good opportunity.
Yeah, it would be the
Because
conservation.
the special meetings are really hard to have.
They are, but they're probably gonna be more successful than a regular town meeting, just because you only need 60% of the room.
And so the Conservation Commission would also
But you
be
get like 50% of
going
the
out to
votes.
look at wetlands.
Yeah, that's right. You do need 50%.
Oh, yeah.
That's the hard part.
Yeah.
No, you do, because you're SB2, we don't.
We're not SB
We're not SB, you guys have to do that on the school side, don't you?
Well, for the special meeting we held, we had to have like a 50% of the voter will turnout to meet a quorum.
Yeah, but we didn't do that on our special meeting for Cash Street.
Because our
was
special meeting
administrative?
was to fix a deficit. Otherwise, we would have had to have had that majority.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough.
So you're right,
Yeah.
but if we had a fund, a non-lapsing fund, that
They
was
fund it.
held by the Conservation Committee, and we could continually put in land use change tax money and timber tax money, it would add up.
Mhm.
Right now, we're just throwing it into the general fund to offset the tax rate.
And that's a problem because our unassigned fund balance percentage is too high. We have too much money. So we need to put it someplace. And it would be, as opposed to giving it back to the taxpayers, it would be better to put it into a conservation fund.
That sounds like a good idea. Yeah. So basically, whenever you hit that upper threshold on your retained funds balance, it just flows into the
You
conservation.
could have a formula that does
Yeah,
that
that would be
percentage of the fund.
So is it a retained funds is what you've allocated taxation of so much money and then you don't know who has the money.
So
left.
every town has an unassigned fund balance, and what that basically is a collection of reserves over the years that they didn't give back to the taxpayers. And that money just rolls, it's held by DRA, and that money, right, DRA has that?
Yep.
But we can put it in different accounts to get interest on it.
That I don't know.
Yeah, it's our overlay.
Yeah.
So if we have a whole bunch of people come in and want
Right.
abatements because we've overtaxed them, then that's where we draw from the overlay.
So we have about,
Have that.
we have $300,000 something dollars. What's the unassigned fund balance?
It's more like 500, I believe.
It's way too much money. You're only allowed to have X percent of the total budget.
And then, is there someone you could funnel that into
Yeah, so typically,
a conservation?
yes, so if you had,
That's what I'm saying.
if you had a conservation committee, you'd have a conservation trust fund. if we had a capital improvement plan, we'd have a capital improvement fund. So at the end of the year, Melissa would come in and she would say, we have a $510,000 reserve. DRA guidelines say we can hold 19%, which is $352,000. So we have an extra $152,000.
So we
Okay, the
allocate.
select board could say, I want to put 75,000 in conservation, I want to give 50,000 back to the taxpayers, and I want to put the rest in the capital improvement. And that would be a vote at the March meeting.
Yep,
Because we're coming down the end of the fiscal year now, we know that number by the time March is.
and the townspeople could reallocate those
Reallocate.
funds. And they
So-
could reallocate it to put more in capital improvements, and the capital improvements, which is, we need a capital improvements committee, would be, are we gonna redo town hall? Are we going to build a new school? Are we going to update the fire station? Are
So-
we going to, what are we gonna do?
The interesting thing from that is, if we can have this meeting and have everybody agree that they want to establish a conservation committee, then that would go as a warrant question. And then you can have a secondary warrant question and say that, do you authorize the select board to take $50,000 of the overlay or the reserve, capital reserves, no tax impact, and put it into the conservation fund for the purposes of buyback?
Question, is the conservation committee a committee of the planning board?
No.
Committee
No.
of the select board?
Nope.
Select board committee.
Select board, and why do we
It's a
It's a
Standalone.
standalone committee, but it's
Okay.
a committee of the town.
why do we need a separate committee for it? Why can't we just use the planning board or something like that?
Because they have to be completely unaffiliated with any other judiciary committee, with their sole task to be looking at open space and the open space guidelines and wetlands and what they can do to provide open space and recreational lands for the
And that's in an
town.
RSA somewhere?
Yeah, they're a whole separate land use group.
Okay.
So they're under the guise of 676, like we are as a planning board.
One of the complaints that I hear
Yeah.
sometimes, and I saw it even on one or two of the open responses so far, on online responses, is like, we have so many damn committees for such a small town, like, it seems, people wonder, is it overkill, is it necessary? You know, and can you even find the people to be on all these committees, so that's
That's
why.
gonna be an
That's the
issue.
problem. Can we have board members on this committee, or is it?
Typically, you would have a select board member would be a liaison
Okay.
Yep.
all the time.
So a liaison, so a non-voting member, or?
No, voting member.
Voting member, same like
Same like
I'm,
here.
yep.
So you could literally do the conservation committee with 3 people.
Can it be a representative from the select board and planning board on it, or is that starting mixing and matching too much?
Yeah, I think you're
If you mix
mixing
and
and
match
matching too much.
So there can't be any, like,
Like, I couldn't be an ex officio member of both the planning board and the conservation
Correct.
commission.
so it has to be completely separate.
Okay, but could you have a select board member and a planning board member on the conservation committee?
Not typically.
No.
Not typically.
Yeah, you wouldn't want that board to have that.
So conservation committees are really cool committee because you have, your task would be with knowing the people in town. So typically, you want to have the 2 townspeople that sit on that committee. It's usually really good to have somebody that knows a lot of people in town. Because then they have the pulse if somebody wants to sell. Before, you talk to a realtor, they talk to anybody else.
Can somebody from the zoning board be on the planning?
No,
Okay, good.
No. And you'll find that there'll be people that'll step up to be on conservation. There are people that are super passionate about something.
yeah.
I don't think that's gonna be a big deal.
I started on the conservation committee and it's fantastic. You can really get involved and do a lot of great things. If we wanted to put a trail in, we would go to the conservation committee. If you wanted to connect green spaces, if you wanted to work off of the Ruger land,
But ultimately, who's driving what land
Select board.
goes into conservation?
Select
select board, they would
And
bring,
what's the planning board's role in all of that, all of this?
Nothing.
Nothing.
no, but so let's say the conservation committee got started and then they started working on wetlands and they determined that, there's a lot of prime wetlands in the area or areas which should be considered wetlands and maybe a better, stricter set of wetland rules and regulations would assist us. They could bring those findings to the planning board and we could have a great conversation. And they would also be the ones that could start off, a better agricultural zoning. or
They
farm
could make
zoning.
suggestions, they could make suggestions to planning for, doing rural zoning.
So sorry, I get mixed up on all this, so is it the planning board that sets the zoning?
No, the planning board instructs the zoning board to draft the zoning ordinances, and then the zoning ordinances come back from the zoning board to the planning board for our approval, and then they go to the select board for the select board approval.
So that's what we need.
And then they go to the voters for the voter approval.
Yeah.
That's the system. We dictate to them what we want for ordinances, they craft the ordinances, and then fire them back to us.
But are they obligated to do what we're asking, or can they say, no, we don't agree with that, we're gonna make it different?
They could
They
say
could
no.
Okay.
They could say no.
But basically what they're doing is they're looking to make sure that it doesn't conflict with any other area of the zoning ordinance, and then come back and say, okay,
So they're kind of like, they're proofing the work and making sure we didn't
Yeah.
overlook anything, and then they make it official and send it over to the select board.
yeah, they're sitting as judge.
Okay, so it's kind of, yeah, I kind of get it now. So there's like, it's just different levels of oversight, basically.
Just to check them out.
Yeah.
Okay, but where did the RSA's fit in all this? Because we are bound by
RSA's.
674.
Those are the minimal. Everything that we do, all of our policies, procedures, and ordinances that we make
This is the
are
minimal
supposed to,
standard.
they're supposed to fill in the gaps or be more restrictive according to what the town wants.
So to bring it back to this meeting, we're gonna suggest that we establish a conservation committee and a conservation fund at this year's town meeting.
Yep, and a CIP committee. And of the two of them, I'm not sure which one is more important.
They're both important. So the good news about the Conservation Committee, the Conservation Committee doesn't need to meet every month. They only need to meet when they have an issue to discuss to meet for.
Yeah.
So if if the three members of the Conservation Committee have their ear to the rail, and they're out there and they hear that Fred Brown wants to sell his land, then they go and they say, hey, Fred Brown, would you sell your land to the town? Sure, I'd love to sell my land to the town. Okay, great. The Conservation Chairman holds a non-public with the Select Board to talk about land purchases. Goes into non-public and says, hey, Fred Brown wants to sell his land. Do we want to buy it? The Select Board in the non-public say, you know what, yeah, we probably want to move on this land. Okay. Now, somebody from the Select Board is going to take that charge with the Chairman of the Conservation Commission, and together they're going to go approach Fred Brown and negotiate a deal. And then they're going to come back and they're going to sign a P&S that's crafted by the town attorney, which states that we're going to buy this land, but we have to hold a vote to buy it. And until the vote is held, we'll hold this land for us, and we'll, in return for that, we'll give you $10,000. So in other words, if the people vote it down,
You get the
they get the money if they want the money. It depends upon how you negotiate the deal.
And let's
I've
say-
done deals in Derry both ways. We've done deals where the guy was like, no, I want this in conservation. I want this. You guys do what you need to do. Give me a P&S, and he waited 9 months for the election to happen, and we bought the land.
You
Because
can
he
do
was,
it though without an election if you have a common event.
You can't. You have to have a vote.
To buy the land.
You have to have a vote. Yep. You have to have a vote.
the town has to vote it in.
You have to vote. You're spending money,
Yeah.
regardless of whether it's in the bank or not.
Well, I mean,
You have to
but
vote.
but we have other, capital reserve funds that boards.
You're over 100,000.
So you can't spend from any capital reserve fund without a vote unless it's under 100,000, correct? Yeah, I guess I haven't crossed that bridge on the school board stuff, because we've never spent anything that much.
And you can go into, the town can go into debt with these purchases by getting a mortgage or whatever.
So typically that's what the town would do. So where that helps the town is that helps the town on the side of bond rating. Because the more assets that the town holds, money in the bank, land, all of that stuff, that's all assets that the town has to solidify their debt service. So it actually helps your bond rating.
So, I have a question on, the CIP, capital improvement, committee or whatever. I like the idea of being able to take some amount of the overflow of the,
Surplus.
Yeah, surplus and put it into the conservation fund. If we have the conservation committee and the capital improvement committee, are they gonna be now both competing for that same pool of money and diluting the effect of that surplus? Because I'm asking because it doesn't seem that hard to get the town to approve capital purchases at town meeting, but I think it's gonna be harder to get people to approve buying a big piece of dirt. So I just.
Well, I don't know if it's gonna be that hard, because there's a lot of people that are complaining about development in town.
Yes.
And,
A lot of
and so
people.
the answer to that is, okay, guys, your taxes are gonna go up. They're gonna go up. No matter what, they're gonna go up. If you buy the conservation land, they're gonna go up this much. If you tell us that, no, I want that to go to Brady Sullivan and let them build 30 homes, it's gonna go up that much. So pick your poison. That's really what you're saying, is pick your poison. You're complaining about all this development, you're complaining about these houses going in, you're complaining about this cost of the school. Well, you're gonna have to spend cost avoidance to get it.
But if you get to
It's one or the other, because
if you
these
get to a
people
town
own
meeting,
this land.
if you get to a town meeting and there's like 20 warrant articles, and you've got a dump truck and a new whatever, and then you've got the land on Loveland Hill, people are probably gonna cut the Loveland Hill one before they cut the.
If the chairman's smart, they'll do the Loveland Hill one first.
Education, you can't, all zoning articles are at the end.
That's right, yeah.
Well, I guess where I'm going with that is, it might be smarter to have like, it's so that those two committees aren't both pulling from the excess funds that are left over.
So you need a capital improvement committee because you can't do a growth ordinance without.
And you could always start a
And the
capital
growth
improvement.
ordinance would be, can you give me, is that like lot size restrictions or?
No, capital improvement plan is, if they don't, so basically the reason that they have it set up that way is because if you have a capital improvement committee, they're planning for the capital improvements that are needed, because most towns have fire, police, and DPW. So what the purpose of that RSA was, they wanted to make sure that if you're gonna restrict growth, that you're gonna have enough money to fund the stuff that you're funding.
So
police,
let's
fire,
say our
But
capital
can you give me an
improvement.
example of,
Yes.
sorry, a growth ordinance?
Yep, I can.
Like,
So we have, let's say,
we
you
don't
go
have.
back, we don't have anything right
So
now.
minimum lot size is not considered a growth.
No,
No.
no.
Let's say we go back, our capital improvement committee starts looking at the last 10 years. And in the last 10 years, Croydon has grown by 2%. And we've managed 2% for 10 years. Now suddenly we start seeing people buying up all the land, and we can tell you by the 64 acres that 30 homes could go up there. That's not 2%.
No.
Croydon can't handle that. So we need to put a growth ordinance in place that says Croydon can grow 2 to 4% per year until we can start putting some capital improvements in place to handle anything larger than 2 to 4%. We cannot do that without a capital improvements.
I got you,
committee.
and the 2% would be population or number of homes?
With
Number of
growth,
homes.
yeah,
Okay.
number of homes.
All right,
Which
so it's
also sounds
basically,
like-
we'd be doing it to satisfy that requirement of the RSA,
Right.
so we could put growth ordinances. So in theory, that committee could just sit around and, it wouldn't be super active.
Nor would it be funded.
It
Right.
would be active because they have to not only look at the growth that we've had for the last few years, they have to go forward with that, and they have to say, what is it that we need to handle further growth?
So they would sit down
But
as
what
an
if we don't
example.
want further growth? What if the
No,
survey?
no, it's not just that, it's so capital, so any capital piece of equipment.
Yeah.
So they would sit down with Joe Bolio and they'd say, okay, what's your 3-year plan? Well, I need a loader for 180,000 in year 2, okay, write that down.
Yeah.
That's what that's all about.
That makes
because-
sense, but that's not,
Our
like-
streets.
that's not meetings every month. And
No, that's, again, the CIP committee would be maybe 3 times a year. Yeah. Once a quarter.
Quarterly, yeah. So
Once
then
a
they
quarter.
would take streets, then they would take culverts, then they would take, if people want streetlights, they would come in and do a look-see at the town hall. What is it needs to happen here? What do we have to do to handle the growth here? They'd come and do a whole thing on the school, do the same thing. They'd look at Paxley Park, what other kind of recreational facilities are there? Gross for
They might, Joe Bolio might say, hey, I'm concerned about the culvert at Boverdale Bridge. And they would go out there and they'd have somebody go out and look at it and say, oh yeah, this is not gonna be good for another 3 years, you're gonna have to replace this. So now instead of waiting for it to break, the CIP committee would say, guys, just, it's on your horizon, you're gonna need to replace this bridge in 3 years, it's $380,000, how are you gonna do it?
Mhm.
So now you can plan, so you can say, okay, well, we didn't know that. I mean, think about it, last year, we got hit with 2 bridges and roads.
Yeah, 5 roads. Five
You know?
roads and then
Now,
all the regular stuff.
The bridges have been talked about, I understand, for the last decade. But everybody was just like, oh, we'll wait for it, we'll just wait for it, just kick the can. Well, if that's on a meeting, if that's on a committee report that comes to planning, as well as it goes to the select board, you've got more eyes looking at this saying, wait a minute, this has been on here for 5 years, what's the price now? It just helps you with better management, better planning, better information, better understanding of what your expenses
It
are.
makes sense to me. I'm just thinking through a few different pieces. And so you got to be, it seems like it'd be a tricky line to walk, because if the town on the master plans survey says we don't want any growth, and the CIP is there so that you can put growth restriction ordinances in, you have to be careful that the CIP doesn't push too many new improvements and fixes to enable growth if the town has explicitly said we don't want growth, right? Because you can only put the growth ordinance in if the CIP is saying that we can't handle the growth.
Yeah, so
So you don't want them doing too much work to make
no,
sure.
well, the capital improvement would be capital improvements to the facilities and the services that you have. So realistically, the biggest thing on that CIP plan would be DPW related, road related. That's really what it's going to
Oh,
be.
the
keep
transfer
maintenance.
station.
And the transfer station would be the second item.
Okay.
And the whole thing is, I know so many people in Croydon don't want growth, but we ain't stopping it.
No, you can't stop it, but
And
there's-
everybody
there's-
says that, well, we don't want it, we're gonna stop it. We
No.
ain't stopping
you can control it though, and you can prevent like giant new.
it. Right now, we can.
Oh, so you have
can't
all
even make
those,
the
but, I mean, so if you have a CIP and you have that committee working, and you have GMOs, growth management ordinances, then and only then can you adopt impact fees.
Okay, and then there's another thing.
And that's another determinant of growth, it's an impact fee.
Okay, at what point is the state gonna get involved with this, affordability of housing? And is there any chance the state is liable?
Right now,
Right now?
right now, anybody can
No,
come
but I mean,
in
is there a
right now.
chance that they're gonna start passing laws saying, no, you can't be doing this growth, man?
Yes.
So yes, the answer is they could do that, certainly, yes, absolutely. And they've already done it, because they've told every town and city in New Hampshire that you shall dedicate an area for modular development, modular homes, manufactured homes. Manufactured homes.
We already
Right
have
now.
that.
They say how big it has to be?
No,
No?
no, you
Okay.
have to allow
You
them.
have to allow
You have to allow manufactured homes in at least 51% of your town or city. And that has never been done before.
51%.
51%.
Wait a minute, go back again, you have to do.
You have to allow
A trailer park.
manufactured homes, not a trailer park, manufactured
Aren't
homes.
manufactured homes trailers?
it. No,
No.
the two halves.
Oh,
So-
well,
Two
we're talking-
halves that come and go on a foundation.
No,
What
that's
about
not
my
trailers.
house?
No, no,
It's
no.
five now.
No, no, no. Manufactured homes.
It's five pieces.
Oh, it is?
Yes, manufactured homes, not just modular homes.
Oh, I'm thinking, okay.
Man-
Modular is the one that comes in sections.
Yes.
Manufactured are the ones that we
And
have.
the trailers,
The trailers are in
I
place.
can't remember either.
So that is a trailer park.
But,
It is
but
a
not
trailer.
a trailer park, you can put them
Well, I know
on a
that's
single
politically
family
incorrect.
home. So if you can put them on a single family lot, which Croydon allows, if you have a single family lot, you can put a manufactured home on there.
All right.
So anywhere you can put a single family home in Croydon, you can put a trailer, it's actually called a manufactured.
Okay, but so if there's 3.5 acre zone where I am, then you need 3.5 acres for a trailer.
Absolutely.
That's true. It's for a trailer.
So
And then you
we're all
have the
set.
buffer zone and all of that, and all.
We have
Yeah,
it.
it's
But then,
something-
okay, but then all of a sudden it becomes unaffordable right away, right?
Not my problem.
I know, I'm just saying, but then the state said, okay, fine, you idiot, no, that's not what we meant.
Alright, so we have, so
Yeah,
just
they
to
can do
refresh,
that.
just to refresh all this, we have board responsibilities, we have conservation committee, land purchase zoning, we have historical committee or historical?
Commission.
Commission, thank you. Historical commission, a capital improvement plan, or capital improvement committee, and then ordinances and enforcement ordinances.
Can you just,
That might be, those 5 topics might be enough.
that's a lot. So can you just explain to me I understand now conservation CIP, how this all factors in. How does the historical piece factor into all this as far as?
It's an overlay, that's all. We don't have to bring up historical, so if you need to cut something out, that would be the first one I would cut out, and we can bring it back. But there are, when Croydon was first founded, 4 corners before Corbin Park, Austin Corbin started buying everything up and fencing it, was one of the, it was actually the beginning, the very beginning, and then the flat and the village. So these are the more historical areas of Croydon. So if you wanted to see an overlay where you could preserve some of the history of Croydon, right over the bridge there's an old mill, and when they redid it, they saved the mill foundation. It'd be nice to have that recognized and save that portion of the foundation. Some of the older people here in town that have been here forever and ever, and I'm sure the Historical Society, could give us some other areas where...
So it feeds into the conservation effort. You're saying these might be areas you want to conserve because they have historical value?
It just might, yes.
So couldn't you wrap that into the whole
It's
conservation?
a separate thing. And it might be something the Historical Society might have interest in having a committee.
Yeah, those people, the people that run that could just be the committee.
If they would show interest in it, yeah.
It's not, and all it is really is for them to come forward and say, as an example, and I don't mean to keep using Fred as an example, but as an example, if Fred's farm was an historical property, they could come and say, look, we need to preserve this. This is the oldest farm in Sullivan County, right? And that would be a question.
My questions are, why do we need it? Like, why can't they just, the historical people go to the conservation committee and say, hey, I'd like you to consider X, Y, and Z?
Because
It seems just
Conservation
like a lot.
Committee doesn't do historical. They're in open space, open land, wetlands. So the house I live in is the old Frank Winter farmhouse. It's across the street from it was Caleb Putnam's original cabin farmhouse. He got some of the original lots that are in the big, huge book from 1700. He was one of the second arriving families. That cabin foundation is right out there across the street from my old farmhouse. I have a connected farmhouse, big house, back house, little house, barn. So, it was, that's what it's called. So they built the little house, then they put the big house, then they put the back house where they did all of the work, and they connected it to the barn.
So it's potentially a different type of zoning, or like?
Before somebody buys that land and puts a bulldozer to it, it'd be nice to go out there and see if you could find anything in the foundations to see if there's still part of the old cabin out there. Before it's all just torn up and tossed around.
Okay.
There's
So
part
it
of
doesn't
the,
have any like direct impact on like development, or it
yes it does.
does?
Yes, it does, because that whole area would have to be, maybe that area where the cabin was would be left as green space, park space for development, a future development of that area, because it's historical. This building, half of this building
If it's
was
different
brought
than just
down
saying
from
we're going to
Croydon.
conserve this piece of land.
Yeah, it's different, because he doesn't have this, if a developer was to buy the 151 acres, there's nothing that says that he has to conserve that land. But if there was a historical overlay, because that's one of the first settlers in town.
And there's different grants. There's grants for historical, there's grants for conservation.
It's just another way to help.
Yeah, so you couldn't say, hey, we want to put that into conservation because you're not going to put an acre into conservation. But you could say, hey, I want to buy this land because it has historical value. You could find a grant that could pay for the whole piece. And then you preserve the whole piece as historical, only the reality is the only thing historical is that foundation. That's why you need a historical committee, because there's a different set of rules, a different set of grant writing, a different set of everything. And you will have some historical stuff come up in town. You will.
And it could be that, you know, as you're talking to the developer who is looking at that, it delays the development long enough that he's like, you know what, I'll just give you 5 acres right there, put a park for the development. So that will make his development go ahead.
So the historical committee basically puts together maps, overlays that mark out where there's historical things, and then the developer buys that land, and there's like, oh, we're gonna do something about this, we need to talk to the historical committee first before it can go.
And I think for this town, our historical committee could just be the people that run the museum.
Yeah.
I mean, they probably love
Yeah, I'm sure they would. I mean, you know, Amy Freak's house was an old schoolhouse. Yeah, so she was another old schoolhouse area. So Little Red is not the only old schoolhouse here. There were 2 old schoolhouses in Corbin Park. I haven't found out how Austin Corbin got those. I have no record anywhere from the town that they gave, or the school of Corbin, that they gave them to Corbin. It's like he just fenced them in and they disappeared.
it. Probably.
Yeah, that's
And that's
probably
illegal.
what happened.
Yeah, but it's still illegal.
A lot of what he did was illegal.
So,
Setting up the
in all
park.
honesty, we still own those pieces of property,
Probably.
Oh, that would be fun times.
wouldn't it?
How many?
With the deeds.
Yes, yeah,
Have you found them yet?
I found all kinds of deeds to Austin Corbin's Park, but I have not found a deed from the town or from the school for those 2 school buildings that are out there. I'm still looking.
So you're looking, so then you're gonna bring the suit against the park, say.
I just find it very interesting, you know, he just started fencing the dang thing in.
Well, they did, they got the legislature to approve of everything they did, so, you know.
98 years ago.
Because he had money.
So the other item on your list was ordinances?
Yeah, ordinances and enforcement, because there's a thought that the zoning board has the enforcement authority, and we just need to discuss that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's more just clearing up roles and responsibilities.
Correct.
We're not talking at this meeting about new ordinances or anything.
Yep, we would be talking about some new ordinances, because anything that they want to do, I don't know if they want to propose anything for March, but we're proposing ordinances for March. We're proposing a cell tower ordinance, we're proposing an ADU ordinance, so we're going to discuss those, cell tower.
Cell tower.
Yeah.
I don't think I know the details.
So Kim, since they're written, can you just forward them out to the board?
Yep.
Please, because we're going to talk about those at the meeting in December as well.
And then, there was the ADU, and what was the third one?
Cell tower and ADU.
That's
Oh,
it.
And the cell tower is really, it's very simple, basically following the RSAs, which I think are K and 1 and K12. But we're only adding the ordinance for the cell tower because we want to incorporate it into the site plan so that we can make sure that we can get out there and have a fall zone and we can get in fencing, so it's for safety.
All right, it's definitely gonna be a,
Last day to accept petitions. See, here's the NHMA guideline, right? So we talk about historical. Last day accepted petitions to amend zoning ordinances, historic district ordinances, or building codes. So there's all 3 boards, right? Friday, January 10th, last day to post and publish notice of first hearing on proposed adoption of amendment zoning ordinances. Okay. So we have to have a public hearing on the proposed ADU and cell tower ordinances. We have to have it posted and published before January 10th.
gotcha. And the December 11th deadline is only for other people.
Correct. That's the written, that's the.
Doesn't apply.
So, Melissa, let's make sure we have the ordinances on the December 4th agenda.
Yep, they're there.
And let's also make sure that we have the vote to finalize the policies and procedures
And application package.
and application packets.
Already
Should be
there.
all on that agenda. Okay?
Okay, calendar.
All right. And
So
then,
January 10th is a Friday.
yep,
So New Year's Day is the first Wednesday of January 2025. I ain't gonna be here. You guys can all have a meeting
No,
without
thank
me.
you.
And
so
Melissa.
what?
So you were
What
talking
date?
about we have to have the public meeting January 10th.
No, last day to post and publish.
Okay.
We could have a public meeting,
So do
I think it
you
needs
wanna
to be
have
14 days.
our regular meeting on the Wednesday, the third Wednesday, because we're not gonna have it on the first Wednesday?
no, because that's New Year's Eve. Or New Year's Day.
New Year's Day. So the third Wednesday in January of 2025 is the 15th.
Yeah, you good for that?
I can do that.
So then let's have, that's gonna be the public hearing date.
Say
for
that
the
again?
ordinances. January 15th.
7 o'clock.
Yep.
Do we only need one hearing?
As
We
long
won't
as there's no
know,
changes.
yeah.
So we have to change something.
Yeah, unless the public comes in and decides they want to change something.
So the last day,
Once we have it, we can,
the second meeting is anticipated.
we can do it the 29th.
We have a meeting on the 8th too, right? Is that correct? January 8th?
No. I have it for the first, but I don't think we formally moved it to the 8th.
Oh, I didn't, for some reason I had it.
Weren't we going to move it to
You
the
thought we
8th?
talked about that last.
Yeah, I thought we were gonna move to the 8th.
Did we? For January?
It's in my calendar as the 8th, I don't know
Alright,
why.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah,
All right,
I
well,
thought
we can do it for the 8th if you want, and that way we can have a second meeting on the 15th if we need.
If we need to. Let's do it on the 8th.
Okay.
So the public
A
hearing.
regular meeting and a public hearing, both. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, the January 8th meeting will be a public hearing as well as, our regular meeting.
So if we have a whole lot
You can
of,
have it on the 15th. And then we're within the January 20th deadline.
But do we have to have it posted 7 days prior?
Yeah.
14 usually, or something.
Yeah,
14 days, so we
Yeah.
can't necessarily have it on the
You need for budget
15th.
hearings anyways.
well, if we do
Yes.
it on the 8th, then we just continue it, it will be fine. We can continue it.
Or
Once
just
it's been
post it.
posted. Once we've posted it once on the website and our posting places, if we have to make some changes, then we have the second hearing. All we have to do is just say it's continued from the 8th.
Okay, is this one that has to be put in the paper?
No, because we've changed our ordinance, we don't have to.
Just trying to-
Yeah.
We don't have to
Yes,
vote.
I agree. Yeah, we don't have to do newspapers anymore.
I'm pretty
For
sure
that.
for
So why couldn't we just notice both meetings 14 days out?
We can.
And just say that the one on the 15th, if needed, is hereby noticed in case of
If
any
needed,
changes.
right.
So if you do that, then we have to show up on the 15th.
No, we can cancel.
No, if needed.
If needed.
If it's not needed, we don't show
Yeah, we
up.
can cancel it.
Okay, then we can notice both of them.
So we'll have to post it not on the 10th of January, but the 25th of December.
So basically, Melissa, what we'd say is second meeting, posting for the second planning board meeting, providing, if there's changes necessary to the ordinances voted on at the first public hearing. So, and that would be the only purpose of the meeting on the 15th, would be to have a public hearing on the changes that we made from the 7th, from the 8th.
5,
Enough days?
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Posted on the 13th of December, holidays and weekends.
Yeah, we took those out, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, the 14 days isn't counted.
So that has to be posted by 12/13.
I'm not gonna count calendars, it's good.
Let's remember that.
Belt and suspender.
I'll make a note.
And we've got the Christmas and New Year's holiday, so I take those out too.
Okay, so, is there anything else that you think we need to talk about with the three boards that's pressing on the select board side?
No, because the select board is putting together an agenda, which we'll talk on Tuesday about. We'll see what we have for overlap,
Agenda for what?
for this meeting,
And we
for
set
the
the
joint
agenda.
meeting.
We set the
You set the agenda, I'm just, the select board is putting together some things that they'd like to make sure get spoken about. I'm hoping that it's just basically overlap.
Gotcha, okay. We have room to add, so it's not a big deal. I just need to know what that is so I can get the,
Yeah,
Get the
and it's
agenda.
up on Tuesday,
okay.
so I will make sure that you get that.
All right.
Again, if there's going to not be enough time to speak about this, I think the historical.
Yeah, I'll do that. Let's see what the select board comes in with. What they want to discuss.
I don't know, did you reach out to the ZBA to see if they have any?
I will. I'll reach out to Barbara. Okay, the only other thing on the agenda is, that's one.
Site plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have one thing about your site plan. It looks good, but you don't have anything for a change of use. change of use. So if you change the use of the property, it should go through a site plan.
Like current use type thing?
No, so you have a residential property.
Oh, and I want to make it commercial.
So if you wanted to add a business, if you wanted to change the use in any way so that it is no longer a residential property, it needs to go through the site plan process.
We don't have.
Like if you wanted to sell cars out of it.
What do you
But you don't have any zoning for that.
Yes, we did.
You do? You sure? Because then how can we sell cars there?
Because everybody was just like, oh, hey.
Nobody enforces it.
Nobody enforced it, even though I brought it to everybody's
Are you not allowed
attention.
to run home businesses?
They have specific home businesses, but they don't say anything about the fact that it should be certain hours, or, what about parking, or, because they say it should only be inside.
Where is this? I was just looking at this.
And this guy's putting a second driveway and all sorts of
Yeah.
Um,
A land, accessory use, it's a land use located on a lot which is incidental and subordinate to the main building or on such lot or to the main use of lot. 3.
Now, okay, but going to Airbnb, is that a change of use?
Yeah.
But is that what it is now, that property?
We don't have any rental definitions.
But we don't have rental definitions. But I wouldn't call it a change of use because he's renting it, it's residential.
Okay.
She's looking at the site plan.
No, I'm looking at the zoning ordinance.
The zone.
And then,
I'm looking at the zoning ordinance
Yeah.
too, but that's not what I see.
and then page 5, home occupation is any use of a professional or service character, including related limited sales conducted entirely within a dwelling or an accessory building which is clearly incidental and secondary to the use of the dwelling and does not change the character thereof, nor employ more than one non-family member on a full-time basis or 2 non-family members on a part-time basis.
Is this different than the one that's already in our binder? Has it been modified?
Shouldn't have been.
Because the pages are different.
No, well, that's the same, I think. Home occupation.
What does your home occupation say?
No,
Back to
I
page
wasn't
3.
checking that, she just said.
Page 3 was different.
Oh, yeah, page 3 was different. Yes, you were reading page 3, I didn't check the same.
So let's just use my house as an example of this, because I want to hear your methodology.
Use located in-
So we're gonna have a wedding day. Where does it say in there I need to change the use?
Hold on a second.
I don't know.
Any use not listed as permitted or permitted as a special exception is prohibited
Where's it listed?
after the effective date of this ordinance.
Where's it listed?
It's not listed in here, so it's prohibited. This is what's wrong with our zoning ordinance.
Well, no, I'm saying where, read that line again.
Any use
Yeah.
not listed as permitted.
Correct. Where's the list of permitted uses?
That's in like where it says.
That is
rural
right
residential.
here.
Can you give me the page number on it?
Yeah, as soon as I get to it, I will give it to you. Conservation, village district.
It's rural residential, right?
That's what according to my
Permitted use is on page 13.
Okay. You're not village district, zone
No,
5.
Rural residential.
Rural
Rural
residential.
residential.
Yep, next one. I have 12. I think you have an extra page. So, permitted uses, woodlots and tree farms, general farming and agricultural, including horticulture, dairy, livestock, poultry farming,
No, this
accessory
is
uses.
conservation.
and-
conservation.
That's conservation. You're on
Oh,
page
sorry.
13.
Oh, okay, yep. A single-family dwelling or 2-family dwellings owner occupied.
That's it?
Sales of agricultural or woodland products produced on the premises or related types of products, home occupations and professional offices, accessory to residences and sales of any produce resulting from any such home occupations, retail sales of antiques, art pieces, crafts and handiwork when an accessory use to a residence, accessory uses in buildings, and any use allowed in zone 3, which is conservation. You can get a special exception for a campground, summer camps for children, outdoor recreation areas, and facilities with or without overnight accommodations. Did you get a special exception?
Well, I'm asking.
So
I wouldn't have
you get a
interpreted
special
this
exception.
from who?
What page?
ZBA.
13. I would not have interpreted that to mean to think that he needs to get a special exemption to have weddings.
Neither did my lawyer.
What's that?
Neither did my lawyer. My lawyer said, hang a sign. That's exactly what he said. Hang a sign.
I'm just, this is what we're dealing with, because this is so damn old, but it says that because any use that's not permitted on this
But it
is
says that you can
prohibited.
have a home occupation.
Yep.
On that list.
Yep.
Which is what that is.
And define a home occupation.
Something you're doing for money at your house.
Correct. On a limited basis.
Hold on, I'll give you our home occupation.
We read that one already.
No, there's a definition for home occupation.
Any use of a professional or service character included related limited sales conducted entirely within a dwelling or an accessory building, which is clearly incidental and secondary to the use of the dwelling and does not change the character thereof, nor employ more than one non-family member on a full-time basis or two non-family members on a
Check, check,
part-time
check,
basis.
check.
Yep, check. That's why he said hang a sign. So basically what that says is if you're using it on a part-time basis and you're using it for and you're using the non-home, so the non-accessory building,
Yeah.
which is the barn,
Yeah.
then you're.
Well, it says it with it.
Does not change the character
Character,
thereof.
right.
And is
I
secondary
would
to
think
the
you
use of
your
the
house
dwelling.
is within a dwelling.
Yeah,
So we don't need a special.
I don't see any issues with that. And I don't think we want to go down that road either.
I would just, if you really wanted to, you could just go and say, I need a special exception. It's not a variance, because variance stays with the land, you just get a special exception to do your business. And that's all, you just go to the ZBA and say, hi guys, I need a special exception, they're gonna give it to you. Country inns, tourist homes.
Yep.
Those are all special exceptions in our zone.
Campground.
You can have a campground.
That is kind of just for it.
I know. I looked into all of that before I bought the land.
That's what I told Brenda when we got the thing from the zoning ordinance, from the zoning people, and they said, you need to go and enforce this because this guy is trying to do campground up there.
So do we wanna actually, when we talk about ordinances, do we wanna talk about this and tightening that up with a better definitions? Because the reason I had to go through all that is, there's language in there that you can't hang your hat on.
No, you can't.
It's too loosey-goosey. So it really should be, you really should have zones that are residential, only residential. You can't put a junkyard or an auto dealership or a car salesman. You really should. We don't use that. We allow the liberty of everybody to do everything.
Right.
But I don't know that is the case because, at least in rural residential, it doesn't say here that you can put a junkyard. That would be like a full-time business that's not your.
No person, firm, or corporation shall keep or maintain within the limits of the town any junkyard, dump of any other matter.
We have a junkyard towing company on Portland.
They're in
So,
violation of this
yes,
ordinance.
Yes, they were.
But-
And when it was brought to their attention, their compromise was put a fence up. Right?
he's not licensed.
No.
And
Well, I
when
guess-
I brought that to
I
the
guess where I'm
attention
going with that,
of the
though, is
ZBA, they're like, but we like him.
That's not an issue. That's not an issue with the wording of the ordinance, though. It's just the fact that nobody's enforcing it.
But,
So
but
ordinances
they're,
and enforcement, that's what we're talking about.
they're going to enforce it on somebody,
And
but
what's the
again,
quick
not
version?
everybody.
How do you enforce? Like, what's the suggestion?
So you're really limited on what you can do.
Wait a minute, we have it in here.
You're limited you're
all limited
limited.
on people coming and asking.
You're
permission.
limited on what you can do as a board member. You're not limited on what you can do from the town select. I mean, I believe that the enforcement should be, there's someone's in violation. Who's gonna say that they're in violation? Right?
We know who says it.
So the select board is the code enforcement people.
Okay.
So here's the enforcement. The
So, yeah.
select board, the selectmen of the town of Croydon are hereby empowered and authorized to administer this ordinance. End of the question.
Okay.
And the board of selectmen shall enforce the provisions of this ordinance and shall be entitled to recover reasonable attorney fees as well as all other costs where they prevail.
So the difference is, in a town that has a code enforcement division, the code enforcement officer is instructed to enforce the codes. So he has a ticket book, and he has penalties, and he uses the court, never goes to the select board. In this town, we don't have a code enforcement, so the select board is the code enforcement, just like select board's the assessors. So the select board member would go out, they would say, that's in violation. In this town, the correct procedure would be to come back and call legal and have legal send a letter and say, you're in violation of this, this, and this.
Yeah.
Not for the select board guy to go down there and rap on his door.
No, of course
And
not.
so, because they have to have some form of protection.
And it has to be a written record of the
Yes.
communication being.
So you have to give time to cure. So,
And you have to give something to appeal to. So
correct.
the whole thing should be, here's a letter, here's the zoning code you're in violation of. These are the remedies you can have and do. Here's your time frame to do it in. And if you think that this is an error, you have the right to
To
appeal
appeal.
it to the
Is-
zoning board of
Are we
adjustment.
making that recommendation that at this tri-board meeting that we establish this process that the select board follows?
We're gonna suggest that they establish a process that is not, calling somebody on Saturday and going up there and.
Right, it could simply be,
That it's,
call a lawyer and
this
say,
guy's
"Oh,
doing this. We gotta call our attorney, call the attorney, give us a letter. Now, if the select board member wants to take the letter off the printer, instead of putting it through the mail and bring it up to the house and post it at the house, they're allowed to do that. Okay, that's not, you can hand it to the owner and say, here, we're giving you this notice. But the owner still has 10 days to respond to it. There's always a response time. You
And
won't
that
get an immediate answer.
And that probably should be in a procedure somewhere.
Oh yeah, there should be a whole list of procedures on how we handle all that stuff. We don't have that.
No. And the other.
So that's part of that,
Right.
the zoning board could work on, hey, what's our procedure gonna be? Okay, somebody has a house with a failed septic. What's the procedure for that? So the
So,
procedure is we do this, 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 and this.
so what you're kind of trying to do without being rude about it is say, the zoning board should not be doing this, the select board should have a procedure that it follows for enforcement.
Yeah, the zoning board is the board that puts the ordinances together and would coordinate with the planning. But the enforcement falls on the select board. If the zoning board member or a planning board member or a DPW member sees something that they say, hey, this guy's cutting the wood and he's not supposed to, they're supposed to bring that to the attention of the select board, and the select board handles it then. That's their authority. They're the assessors, they're the board of adjustment, they're all of it. But how they do it is, can be interpreted differently too, because some people think that they have the right to go and enforce, but that's not how you want to do it. You'll get shot in the United States.
No.
You
and we
want to
need-
involve
we need a
legal.
written trail.
You do.
You
You
need
need a
to
paper
have, you need to have the letter, you need to be able to quote them what violation they are, give them the time frame to come back and answer to it, give them remedies or have them come in to have remedies. If they don't do it, they need to be able to go to the zoning board
Yeah.
of adjustment or
Well,
be
it also-
Tim's
adjusted.
point,
it also
you
helps.
can't have somebody say, oh yeah, we know he's doing it, we like him, but we don't like this one, so
Yeah.
this one's gonna have to do it.
And if you have a written procedure, you can't, nobody can say you're playing favorites, you're singling me out.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
And you have to treat everybody the same.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, so I think I've got a good understanding of what we're talking about.
Yep.
A couple weeks now.
Alright, anything else? Do we wanna look at the surveys real quick, or do we wanna save that for the 4th?
I was gonna try to input all the paper ones before tonight, but I just didn't have enough time.
Okay.
I do have like, results on, I think, 15 or so.
Online?
Yeah. So it's a pretty small sample size. I can give those now, or I can just show you next time we meet.
You're wondering why you can be something to represent.
Yeah.
That's good, that's
Where's
good.
the folder?
A little higher.
I gave them all to Aaron and then I put the folders down.
Let's get a little higher number, but let's plan to do a review of those on the fourth. Preliminary. Let's add a preliminary review on the fourth, let's just the agenda.
We'll have some idea what the response rate is, if it's low, we go out.
Yeah, I mean, I really wanted to go up further along on the master plan, but in all honesty, we have so many other things that are gonna take priority just because of the squeaks that are around town about development, that I think we need to get the policies, procedures, and the guidelines, and the forms, and the fees, and everything to Paul, so that he's set to go. We need to do this joint meeting and get that done and set to go. So if we review the preliminary results on the 4th, the survey ends on the 10th. We can then formulate that for a meeting on the 8th.
Yes.
And then we could have Vicky come on the 8th of January and start the kickoff for the.
Wednesday's
master-
not good for her.
I think she can zoom in on Wednesday.
Okay, so we'll
I will
have to
check with
Teams.
her.
We'll have to get that Microsoft
We'll have to get-
365.
Yeah, and the important thing is, even if we don't have a plan written, is the survey results. Because then even in our meeting with the other two boards, we can say confidently that the town feels a certain way, we've already got results.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. We can have the preliminary results show that's, and that should be part of the agenda too. We should just give them an overview
Yeah.
of what the survey
Yeah.
result
Yep.
is.
Another selling point for the ADU is beyond the fact of the generational assistance, living assistance, is the fact that one of the ways to alleviate the problem of development is that people can have an ADU rather than sell their land.
Right.
You got the state offer. Because that article you gave us, basically all that's been accomplished, comes down to that ADUs, who said no, they will what, will not.
Yeah, well,
No,
well, they said no for detached ones. There's a couple of places that are adding 2 ADUs now per lot.
Oh,
Attached
somebody,
and-
right,
Attached and detached?
You can have one of each for the housing fund.
no, the next 3 houses. By the way, before you go, assuming the people at the park, keep in mind, we got more money than the town has.
I wasn't gonna sue them, I was just gonna.
Well, if you're gonna go
Yeah.
try to claim your land from them, you're gonna do something.
We obviously, at some point in time, built the damn road into the schoolhouse, which was ours. So I just want the right to go in and visit the schoolhouse, which is ours. Or some compensation for that schoolhouse.
That's what I'm saying. They've got more money than you have.
Have fun with that.
Yeah, have fun with that. Yeah, good luck.
And it's an RSA, there's an RSA that says they can.
Hey, you know
Ah,
You wanna adjourn this?
Yeah, take a motion.
I motion that we adjourn.
Okay,
Second by Aaron, all those in favor?
Aye.
You know what's, shut the recorder.